Oh, hey, how's it going? Ronnie Chavez here, and today we're going to be doing the tunnel flip. Now, what is the tunnel flip? Well, first, you need to find yourself a tunnel. Actually, you don't need a tunnel. The tunnel flip is actually doing a side flip, but with your body moving forward. So if you're facing this direction, then you're moving that direction while doing a side flip, rotating this direction or this direction. So I do a side flip to my right, so I'm gonna be doing the tunnel flip, flipping to my right while moving forward. So I'm gonna teach you how to learn the tunnel flip and the different variations of the tunnel flip. The main thing before you get started on the tunnel flip is you need to have a solid side flip, which the side flip is going to be a lot easier to learn than the tunnel flip, because the tunnel flip is just where you get into some weird wonky motions and rotations with your momentum. So as long as you have a solid side flip down and you have that kind of in your muscle memory, tunnel flip's gonna be a lot easier. So there's a variety of ways to learn this trick. However you learn it, just make sure that you're in a safe environment. I recommend learning it off of height because it's going to be easier to get the technique down. So doing it off of height into a foam pit or into a swimming pool or on a trampoline. Generally just having height is gonna make it easier to kind of control the motion and figure out what you're doing. And also another tip to help you with any parkour or free running tutorial is to film yourself while you're learning it, because that way you can watch yourself doing it, watch the playback, and then compare yourself to people who do it online. And that's a huge way to really help you know what you're doing and how you can do it differently. That's how I've learned most of my tricks, is just through filming myself, rewatching, and comparing to other people so that I can improve upon my technique. So the first three variations of the tunnel flip that I'm going to talk about, which is mainly with the way you take off with your feet, but each of the variations is going to affect the way the tunnel flip looks a lot. So the first one is a basic standing side flip, and if I'm side flipping to my right, then basically I'm doing a standing side flip, rotating to my right, but my momentum is moving forward. The second variation is that I'm taking off with my main jumping leg, how I normally do side flips, only instead of flipping forward into the side flip, I'm kind of flipping sideways from the direction I'm moving while taking off my right leg. So if I'm flipping to the right, I'm jumping off my right leg and I'm kicking my left leg up to the left, like I'm rotating that way, but my momentum is still carrying me forward. The last variation is my favorite one because it gives it the coolest flair, is actually taking off your opposite leg. So for me, it'll be my left leg while rotating to the right. And with this one, I'm actually kicking my right leg in the direction I'm flipping, so it crosses my legs and kind of gives it this really cool flair. And that one I feel works best off of higher drops because you're not gonna get as much power jumping off your weaker leg. So as you start practicing the tunnel flip, what you want to keep in mind is that you want to focus on where your chest is. Your chest is basically going to control your momentum and how you flip. So for me, because I want to focus on keeping my chest forward, and then when I'm doing the side flip, it's almost like I'm gonna look to my right, look to the way I'm side flipping, and I'm gonna force my body to side flip that way while still trying to keep my chest pushing forward, but throwing all of my technique for the side flip to the right. And so as long as you can keep your chest forward and let that momentum carry you forward, almost like you're skewered on a shish kebab, spinning on it, moving forward. I know that's pretty gruesome, but that's the best way I can think about it. That's basically what you want your body to be doing. Next thing you want to think about is your legs. So the way that you're kicking your legs into the air is going to affect the way you're flipping around. If you don't kick correctly, it can end up just flipping you into more of an awkward Webster, or you'll just end up doing a side flip. And so you want to make sure that you're really kicking in the direction you want to side flip hard without jumping in that direction, because you still want to make sure you're moving forward. So for the standing tunnel flip, for example, I focused really hard on side flipping one direction, but as I'm doing that, I'm making sure that I'm jumping forward, almost the same way I think of a gainer, how you have to think of jumping forward and doing a backflip. That's what I'm doing, is I'm jumping forward, setting my hips and chest forward, but making sure I'm throwing everything to the side like I'm side flipping that direction. Can really mess with your head a little bit, but as you practice it and start getting comfortable with the motion, it'll get easier to do over time, and then you'll be be able to be more aware of where you are in the air. Really, it's just gonna take a lot of practice to kind of get that feeling, get comfortable with it. And as long as you're focusing on carrying your momentum forward and flipping sideways and practicing combining those two things, you'll be able to figure it out. And also remember to record yourself doing this. Because the momentum is so weird, it's really hard to tell what you're doing in the air unless you're able to watch yourself back. And then over time, you'll be able to match with how it feels, with how it looks, and then you'll know exactly what you're doing. So once you feel like you start getting comfortable with the motion of the tunnel flip and you're figuring out how to do it, let's go to the harder variation, which is your opposite leg, kicking your jumping leg into the tunnel flip. This one is really cool because I love the style and flair it gives, but it's gonna be a little bit harder because you're not gonna have as much jumping power off your leg you don't usually jump on. So when going into the opposite foot tunnel flip, you really want to focus on kicking your jumping leg. That's going to be where all your control and momentum comes from for the tunnel flip in this variation. You want to also make sure that on your jumping leg, especially if it's not your strong leg, that you really keep it solid and straight. You don't want to try and bend it too much because then you're going to lose height and lose set for the actual flip. You don't need to worry about jumping as much on this trick as you are just keeping everything tall and powerful and then really kicking that leg hard. That's also going to help you get up in the air. And for this variation specifically, I think it works best off of height because that's where you'll have the most time to really kick that leg out and flare it out to get the coolest looking flip. Otherwise, off lower objects, it's harder to get that same flare and you may just end up swinging to your feet together and then just kind of doing a tunnel flip from there. But otherwise, if you have the control, then you can really kick that out. And what you want to be thinking about while you're doing that kick is that once again, your momentum is going forward. You're going to be really want to focus on throwing your arms to the side, the direction you want to be flipping with your leg, because that's going to help you throw into the tunnel flip. And then once basically your kicking leg reaches its peak, that's when your jumping leg leaves the ground. And you can still, once you're in the air, hold that kicking leg out as long as you want to add additional flair, but at that point you can tuck whenever you're ready. And with this version, I personally like to tuck behind my legs because I like to turn it into more of like a double leg style tunnel flip, because to me that's the coolest and funnest way to do it. And especially if I'm going even higher, then I even tend to, on the landing, just rotate my body a little bit so that my momentum is landing backwards instead of a weird forward sideways landing, which can be more impact from a higher height. So that's in essence how you do the tunnel flip. Once again, you don't need a tunnel to do the tunnel flip, but if you happen to have a tunnel, then it's extra cool because it's a play on words. You're doing a tunnel flip off of a tunnel. So anyways, be sure to stay subscribed for more tutorials, and thank you for watching.